Hello everybody, it's Hero the Japanese Train here, and today's video is going to be all about my customs. Not just one custom, but a whole bunch of them. I've been making customs for about the last 10 years, off and on, and I've come a long way from the very first ones that I've made, but some of my customs have had more time in the limelight than others, and I've had some customs I've made entire videos for, but some have fallen through the cracks. So today is going to be a big custom catch-up video, a mega look at some of my customs that haven't really seen the screen.
Up first is this custom of a Season 1 Troublesome Truck that I made. I like the little cute face I gave him, and it was pretty straightforward, just a quick and easy custom to make, but definitely glad to have made that. The next custom I made was Algae, the blue bus. I used a new style birdie that I had to fill in this little bit with clay to match how the blue version of Algae looks. For some reason, the yellow version had that little divot, but the blue one didn't. So now that I filled it in, I drew on all the windows with acrylic paint markers. I also had to go back in and redraw the driver's side profile. I kept the front profile though, and he was done. I'm really thrilled with how he turned out. The den face actually captures Algae pretty well, more than I thought it would. I just picked the face because it would fit, but it really worked out. For the next custom, I used this really messed up Scarloey that you can see my friends and I had used for practice on some of our lining and things like that, but I turned him into the ghost engine that Rusty tells Duncan about in Duncan Gets Spooked.
Engine lost control. And plunged over the side.
I just love how menacing he turned out. I liked having all the creative freedom when it came to making things like the face and the details. These sorts of blank slate characters that I can kind of add my own creative flair to are the ones that I enjoy making the most when it comes to customs, and this guy was super fun to make. The face, by the way, came from an old style Henry. Around this time I also made my custom Barry, which I used this Arthur to make. The face was stolen and used for Heinz from Friedrich the German engine, actually. When I got this Arthur, it was in pretty rough shape, so all I pretty much had to do was give him a coat of black paint, a couple coats actually, to get the British Railways paint scheme down. Barry was also an opportunity for me to use these new ultra-fine acrylic paint markers that I had to put on the British Railways logo and his number. And with that, Barry the Rescue Engine was finally complete. If you want to see my characterization from him, check out my Day Out with Thomas video from the Henry Ford Museum on my channel. This next custom was really just fun and kind of out there. I had no plans for this guy with videos or stories or anything. It is a toy-like Thomas. I had this generic wooden train sitting around and I didn't really have anything to do with it, so I had a spare Thomas face, I had some blue paint, and I just painted him up like this cute little, tiny toy Thomas. Really just a fun one to make all around. The next custom I made was a Defus gunpowder car, which I've actually showcased in a couple other videos. I used an old generic wooden train coach to make this one. I actually went back and made a 2.0 version of this Defus gunpowder car using these little generic passenger cars, I think, that were unpainted. I got this from a big pack on Amazon, and it's simple, it's really straightforward. Other than the black paint, I just had to put on the lettering, but I think it was really effective. These are nice little small pieces of rolling stock that I think any Scarloey Railway layout would be better off having. I also made a custom of Elsie, the luggage van, who works with Toby and Henrietta. I see her as kind of like a child to Toby and Henrietta, similar to Paprika with Salt and Pepper from Blue's Clues. And again, she came from the same pack of Amazon blank wooden trains, and she was very quick and easy and super effective. The next custom is Shankar, who also came from the Amazon pack. I painted him with brown, cream, and orange to get his color down. He's really just a repaint of Ivan, but I also cut off some wooden bits that were on the sides. I did the face with a Sharpie and hand drew that. I put Shankar on the bottom, and other than that, he was done. I'm really happy with how he turned out, and I could see myself making an Ivan like this one day. I got this dart on eBay, which was in pretty rough shape. I took the face off, and the reason I got this dart was to make Natalie from Big World Big Adventures, the diesel who works at San Francisco docks. The reason I got Dart is obvious because Natalie's just a recolor of him. But the face was a little bit more difficult. I actually still had the birdie face left over from when I made Algae, and the face is roughly the same size that it could fit on Natalie with minimal sanding, so I went ahead and used that. I put on some red paint, I used painter's tape to kind of guide my lining a little bit, and then I did the rest with acrylic paint marker and Sharpie. So with that, Natalie's done, and she's ready to provide excellent customer service on any railway shunting yard you need her to. Up next is by far the biggest of these customs. It's Reginenda, the Indian Railways Class WP. He's the one who has this elephant trunk nose from the Indian Railways Black Beauty celebration, which I didn't realize was a real thing until I found this documentary. I'll plug it in the description in the comments below. It's really worth the watch.
But on Indian Railways, the pressures of economics have forced us to give up the lovable old monster of steam. It helps people to remember that the steam has served a glorious era from the old days if you look back into the past.
The decision to make Reginenda came from the fact that I had this red generic tender engine lying around, and I just thought the shape looked best to fit Reginenda, so I painted it with green, blue, and red. The magnets were actually on backwards, so I had to take them off and flip them around so they could connect with wooden railway cars. The tender is a Patchwork Hero tender, which I had in one of my Thrifting Finds videos. And then everything else was done with acrylic paint markers when it came to the details. And this guy is really colorful and bright. He's just a pleasure to look at, honestly. My favorite part were the pink and yellow dots that I did around his face, like he has in the actual YouTube short. Honestly, this custom of Reginenda made me appreciate not just Indian Railways more, but even the actual short that he appears in. I might add on the elephant nose. I just didn't want to draw it on, but maybe I'll make a removable one in the future. And possibly I might make customs of some of the other engines from these YouTube shorts. So stay tuned to see if maybe I make more of those in the future. Definitely Corin. I think Corin's kind of the cool one. But that's Reginenda. I'm really happy with how he turned out, and you'll probably see him in some of my other videos. I also had a lot of green paint left over that I had poured out after painting the coats on Reginenda, so I took some of that green and used it to paint this works unit coach, and I had a brake van that I painted with more of this leftover green. There's no other story behind this brake van. I just added Northwestern and I gave it a daisy face that I also colored in green, and I gave her the name Betty because, I don't know, it's just the first name that came to mind. I also put 16 tons on the side to reference Tennessee Ernie Ford, who's one of my favorite musical artists. The next custom I'll talk to you guys about is one that's not fully finished, and you'll see why in a second, but it's my Furness Railway Edward. And I think he looks phenomenal other than one glaring issue. When I put on his glossy Mod Podge on the wheels, for some reason I just did too thick of a coat and it stuck, so you can actually still see some of the Mod Podge even though it's completely dried. So he's going to need a running in through the works to fix that, but other than that, I think he looks very neat. The last custom that we're going to take a look at is Streamline Thomas. And this is one I'm really excited to tell you guys about. I started by using this generic wooden train, which I got at a train show, but you can also find it on Amazon with packs of other trains. The color I used was called Pool Blue from Craftsmart, and I did a couple of coats on the engine and the wheels, then everything else was done with acrylic paint markers. The face comes from a Thomas CGI, and he has this thing where he kind of looks right up.
Do you have games on your phone?
It's kind of incredible how the generic engine shape was perfect for Streamline Thomas, and I'm surprised there aren't more customs of Streamline Thomas out there. What I'm most proud about is the lining that I was able to do. I did that all freehand without any rulers, and I feel like I got it pretty straight, so all in all, a great custom, and I really enjoyed making it. And that's the custom showcase. These are all just customs I made over the last few months, but it's definitely a reminder to me of just how far I've come from the last 10 years. And it's a reminder to you guys, everyone starts somewhere. Pick up a custom, pick up a train, and start painting. You can never go wrong, and you can only get better with practice. There's plenty more customs where that came from. I have many of them in the works, and I have many customs listed on my eBay page, which I'll link below. For those of you who have purchased from my eBay page, thank you very much for the support. In fact, many of the items you just saw in this video have sold, and they sell pretty quickly, so if you want to own one of my customs, definitely go ahead and check out that link. I'm also experimenting with other new ways to do customs that I haven't really done previously, so I'm excited to show that to you guys. I also wanted to really thank you all for getting me to nearly 10,000 subscribers. I'm blown away by all the support that you guys have given me. This will probably be my last regular upload for the next couple of weeks because I'm going on a trip out of the country, so please make sure that you've hit that bell so you can stay up to date when I upload videos. I might even upload some while I'm on my trip. Thank you guys for watching and for really supporting my channel. I appreciate it a ton. I'm here, the Japanese Train, signing off. I'll see you in the next one.
Whoa!